Yo, what's up, kids? It's Damnation-n-Hellfire here with Battle Pirates Crow's Nest, and today, let's skirmish. We got with us Ross.
Good evening.
We got Shane.
Hello.
Making his triumphant return to the regular Thursday show. We got Dan.
Hey.
And we have Vlad.
Hey, everybody. How are you? I just want to point out that it is 7 o'clock in the motor capital of the free world, Detroit, Michigan.
Free world? Good one. Haha. You know, I just now realize, and I've done this like the whole time, I was like, some people I introduce by their game name and other people I introduce by their real name. I really need to work on that. But anyway, we're going to talk about some Battle Pirates. So let's real quick go over the FM because I really don't want to spend a whole lot of time on that. Forsaken Mission.
You know, it's funny you should say that. I don't think any of us want to spend a lot of time on it, but given the amount of points required, we're all going to.
I'm done already. It took me like an hour. So, yeah. But, so, yeah, the Death Side turret got added in there this week. The catastrophic mortars in there. There's 7-day build tokens for each of them. And we also had the new explosive / concussive dual armor. So that was the main new things in there this week. What do you guys think about the Death Side turret being in there, like, directly after the raid?
Yeah, points wasted, I guess, getting them, but I guess, you know, it is what it is.
I mean, I myself, I'm a little bit irritated just because, you know, that's 30 million points in the raid I could have spent on something else because I did pick up 2 of them during the raid. But at the same point in time, at least it's the crappiest of all the turrets that they put in there that, you know, I don't feel that I have to go out and grind for more in the FM. So...
For
Ross,
me,
I know you're a little jaded, Ross.
Yeah, well, for me, it was straight up kick in the teeth. You got to be kidding me. I went out and not only do I get the turrets, I pay the 28 million to throw them in place because that's how I play, right? And there's many actually, not just me alone, that do that, and so they're all in place. Well. But 28 million a pop, and then the FM, it's 1 million for a 7-day token. I say, well, you know, I do learn from my mistakes. I know some companies that don't, but I do. So I'll never even do the tokens thing again in the raid ever. And I pay to play, so that part I'll never pay again. Ever.
Well, there you go. Shane, what are your thoughts?
Well, on that specifically, I mean, they did put them behind other, you know, you have to buy the original prize first before you can buy them tokens. But I kind of think that, you know, I don't know, Ross probably did, but I bet they didn't sell it all during the raid, really, because of the cost. You know, and those tokens didn't go out as many as they thought to that. Just, I imagine just a few people got them that got the billion points or whatever, you know what I mean?
Well, there were a lot of people that had like a lot of points that raid. So
yeah, I gotta tell you, there weren't a lot of people that had a lot of points. I got 110 million. I did 11 sets. That put me just before the 100 block went off, so I could no longer see the leaderboard. That put me at like 6,950 on the global order of merit, which means that considering the fact those tokens were 28 million a piece, there was less than 7,000 people that could have bought 4 of them. If they bought nothing else but those, there was less than 7,000 players that could have bought 4 of them.
Oh yeah, I agree.
That's what I was saying, that they probably didn't sell.
I agree. It's less than 7,000 for sure, but you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I didn't get the mortars in the raid. I mean, I got a lot of stuff. I got 488 million myself, mind you, with only 3 Manticores. But that was due to Damnation and RB prepping for me in the beginning to get some of the correct parts in place, and grease monkeys all the way. But I mean, I worked my ass off.
Yeah, I would just like to point out that while we prepped for him in the beginning, by the end of the raid, he had more points than both of us.
And I still didn't get none of those turrets because I'm busy catching up on a lot of other stuff. I mean, you know, so that's where my points went. And 28 million a piece. Okay, as a consumer, I ain't paying 28 million for no damn 7-day token. You know,
Well,
that's just me, though.
I know. I myself, had there not been such an influx of them, and you know, it was like, you know, okay, you can get like, you know, 2 tokens for 28 million points. I might have been that might have been a lot easier to swallow than like, oh look, here's like 15 billion tokens and they're all 28 million points apiece. Go get your points and get them. You know, it was way too much at one time.
Yeah,
that was my main complaint about that.
And here my issue is, I've been one in the past where I missed a turret, right? I missed a Halo 2, and my base suffered drastically because I couldn't get the max amount at the time. Well, so I learned from that, and because it didn't come out again. Guess what? It was impossible to get. You couldn't get it back up to the 200%. So I learned. So what do? I auto 870 or 866 million points from a phone. It's my choice. I understand. But then days later, to give that away, like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
And what are they doing for me? I understand they're doing great things for players that are coming in back in the game. That's a great move. Whatever. But you got to be kidding. What are you doing for me? Nothing. Yeah, I tell you what, nothing.
but I am in the same token. It was early for the death scythe to come in, but I could accept the mortar coming in to the raid myself.
Oh yeah, the mortar. Yeah, the mortar. Yeah.
I think it would have been even easier for people to swallow if they had like at least waited a week even. You know, I think even that would have been easier to swallow. But literally to have the raid end Monday and then those turrets be in the thing Wednesday, it's just like, really? So, I mean, I understand. I understand that, you know, you're trying to get the product out into the hands of as many people as possible to kind of get, you know, everybody square it up a little bit on their PvP, but you have to look at giving the people who did the raid and got it that way the sense of a little bit of value for the effort that they put forward, and it just didn't do it by doing this.
And not only that, is we just don't know what the next thing it might be. I don't know. I mean, because in all honesty, that was a top prize. So what other top prize might be offered days later? We never will know.
Yep. All right, but that's about as far as I want to go on that, because I know we could probably go on for a long time about that, but that's not what we're here for. A couple of highlights we want to hit real quick. Right now, you can upgrade your turrets for up to 80% off, and you can also upgrade your Conqueror Shipyard if you don't have it already for up to 90% off. So there you go. That's probably a good thing for those people who were trying to catch up.
Yeah, all that means is it'll be obsolete in a month.
Yeah, but we're not trying to go there, lad.
Those are good.
Well, the Conqueror Shipyard's not going to be obsolete.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, well, you get it at 90% off of 42 days is like quite a damn bit, you know. I mean, more power to them. If the people don't have it up yet, if they can get it up, I mean, that is another part of the game. They just got to get a titanium fleet up to run it.
And that's part of the issue is if you haven't built it yet, you probably don't even have a titanium fleet.
Right.
Also, something very important. Everybody needs to be aware of this. September 4th, Google Chrome is coming out with an update. They're coming out with a new version of Google Chrome. For some reason, I'm having problems saying Google today. You're going to have to do some things to get your Flash player working. So first thing you're going to have to do is go to select preferences, and then you'll go down to where it says advanced, and you're going to want to click that. And then you're going to go to where it says content settings and Flash, and you'll click that. And then you click down here where it says Flash, and you're going to have to add a line in there that says www.kixeye.com and to the list of allowed sites. You can't just put kixeye.com because it's not going to work. You have to put in the www part. So that's what you're going to have to do after the Chrome update to get your Battle Pirates to work in Chrome. So this is also posted up on the forums, as is obvious. So everybody you know that plays on Chrome, make sure you get this information out to them because this is very, very important. So that's really all there is to really say about that. There's not really a whole lot of even discussion to have there.
Well, out of curiosity, what does the panel play on? I play on Chrome, so this is going to affect me. Is there anybody here who's not affected by it? Or have we all pretty much settled on playing in Chrome?
It depends on me for the day. Sometimes I play on Chrome. Sometimes I play on Facebook Game Room. It all depends because sometimes if Chrome is acting up, I find I have better luck on Game Room. So I kind of flop back and forth between the two, whichever one's working the best on any given day.
That's the same here.
I'm a Chrome.
Chrome.
This is, and I have a question. This isn't something you can do ahead of time, right? This is something we have to do.
Yeah, this is something you'll have to wait until the update actually hits.
Right. Okay. So.
So, but I'm sure that this will be pinned up in the forums towards the top until after the update happens. So it should be easy to find and do the steps. And Ross, if you forget how to do it, you can just ask me and I'll tell you how.
Right.
Because that's what I'm here for.
Because I don't think you can even get to the forums if your Flash crashes. I mean, I don't know.
Oh yeah, I've gone to forums without Flash lots of times.
Okay. I can't even. Yeah, never mind.
So yeah, but that's pretty much all to say about that. But yeah, everybody you know who plays on Chrome out there in YouTube land, make sure you let all your friends know that this is happening and how to address this problem.
This is gonna be huge. So yeah, we're gonna need to share it.
It's big league, man. Big league.
Honest. I mean, oh my.
I can't get on.
Oh, the messages I'm gonna get.
All right. I can just imagine the page the day that this happens.
Yep.
All right. The main thing we're here to talk about today. What's all this about a skirmish cycle? So we're going to go through, and I apologize. There's going to be a fair amount of reading during this segment, but it's kind of the way it has to be, so then we can talk and discuss each point. So on September 6th, the final monthly event in the assault cycle is going to run, and this will give you early access to your skirmish holes. So what's changing? Let's go straight to there. The skirmish cycle will be 3 months instead of 4. It will feature 2 hulls and no CICs. Both hulls will be available in the early access event. You will be able to pick which of the 2 hulls you want to start off with. And you won't be able to, obviously you won't be able to claim them both the first time. You're going to have to pick one or the other. The new hulls are both auto and skill hulls. So each one, there's going to be basically 4 different variations. You're going to have 2 hulls, and each one has the variation of an auto or a skill build. You can use either of the new skirmish cycle hulls on any tier 8 target. Sharded new content that drops from tier 8 targets will provide lateral power options and specialization in strategic choices as opposed to vertical power increase. That was a lot of words. To say that was a lot of words to say. The shards that we're going to get this time for that tech is apparently supposed to not like make everything overpowered, but just give you different options, but say on the same power level. And the proto assault hull in this cycle is the last proto hull for the foreseeable future. So let's go and start talking about these point by point. The skirmish hull will be 3 months instead of 4.
Can we go back up a sentence first?
Sure. What do you want to talk about?
Do not be alarmed. This is not the old days. I gotta tell you, it sure smells like the old days. The fact that they have to give us this warning, do not be alarmed, this is not the old days, means that at least they realize that the old days are not good. I'm just not convinced they can help themselves from going there. So.
Well, and that's something, I mean, time will have to tell.
Yeah, exactly.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is the skirmish cycle will be 3 months instead of 4. And they did have some question and answers down in here, and one of these does refer to that. So I'm going to read that question and that answer as well. Says 3 months is too short and I can't keep up. This is only the case because of the requirements of the previous cycles to build 2 fleets worth of new hulls because of being locked out of certain targets. And we've removed the requirement, that requirement element from the cycle. It is now optional only. With our return to pre-Manicore hull build times and only needing to build 1 fleet worth of new hulls, with the second fleet being a quality of life improvement option available to those who want to spend to do so, the 3 month cycle should be a lot easier this time around. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this. I know one of my big concerns was when they said pre-Manicore build times. The first thing I went and I looked at my Buccaneers and my Hydras because they were pre-Manicore. So, and I looked and I say, okay, so my Buccaneers and my Hydras both came in roughly at about the exact same time that my Manicores did to build. However, on their stream, they did talk more. It was going to be more in line with Skyfires and Phoenixes. Now, if I recall, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, they came more in about the 16 days plus a little bit of change for those builds, correct?
It's been a while.
The only reason I know that is because that all those billions of Skyfire tokens we got, I built a bunch of Skyfires. So, and I was able to do, I think they were like 16 and a half days. So, I mean,
even at 15
hang on,
days.
let me finish. Now, and that, if that holds true, that is a build time reduction of about 2 days per hull. But if I remember correctly, during the time of those 2 hulls, since they were cheaper on the build times, didn't we also see less tokens for them when they were in the current cycle and currently relevant?
I don't know that we've seen any less tokens for them than we've seen for Manicores. The tokens have generally been drying up over the past year, little by little. And that was kind of what I was going to drive at is even at 15 days per hull and give it 20 for a flagship, and there'll be a flagship, that's an 80-day build. And it's how long it actually takes depends upon how many tokens they release. And they've been getting stingier and stingier with the tokens.
Now, see, I don't know that I necessarily agree with that because since Shane got back, you were able to crank out what three out of just tokens from TLCs.
From those 2 TLCs right before the raid. Yes, I was able to do that. But I refit them going in because I didn't have the dark wings and stuff like that. So I didn't
right.
That. So I did have to do a refit, which I bought the tokens during the raid to help accomplish that. So yeah, I mean it was tokens, but that's
I don't coin to buy tokens, and I don't coin repairs to be successful in TLCs. So a lot of the tokens I think you guys are getting are just tokens that are not accessible to me because my fleet isn't good enough to do those TLCs.
That first TLC, all right, I went in there and rooted it out with my subs, and then went in there with my ironclad and did the target. Now, in the end, Damnation, he come and prepped the last 2 rounds for me, but I didn't know that those rounds were going to still be those single targets. I could have did that all myself.
Well,
And I didn't spend no coin.
And
Okay, now then on the next TLC, I did do that one all myself, and I did not spend any coin to do it.
I did the TLC where it was allegedly co-op, where you could go in with your subs and prep it and then hit it with a fleet.
Yes. And I used my, like I said, I quit 7 months ago. That's how my icebreakers were. I haven't changed them at all. And they did that TLC. And I was able to do the next TLC for them.
But how many tokens did you end up getting out of that?
Enough to build 3 ships and rank them.
No.
No?
Yes.
Go back and look.
I don't have any monolith tokens left. Or not monolith.
I got like 47 monolith tokens left.
Not monolith. I misspoke. Manicore. I have exactly 1 left now.
Okay, I don't have any.
And my fleet still isn't done, so I'm not sure where the difference is. I'm not getting the benefit of some of these tokens that everybody else is finding.
I think the main benefit and is the fact, and I don't mean this to sound mean, but it might come out that way. But to take me the way I mean things, and not necessarily the way they come out, is I think one of the main things is he built his correctly the first time. So he didn't have
to. And that's something that I want to talk about later on, is that you're generally married to your build, and if you build it wrong, you're so screwed that you might as well just recycle.
You could fall behind. I agree. If it gets wrong, I mean, things were already figured out before I got to this stage. That's kind of the advantage of building late. You know what I mean? But
I mean, it all comes down to this. The main reason we had switched from a 3-month to a 4-month cycle was because even with people only building 1 fleet, they were still not having any kind of downtime to build anything else. It was you spend the whole raid cycle building just your raid fleet, and by the time that raid cycle is over, you have to immediately start on building your next raid fleet. So there was no downtime to do anything else that you might want to do.
Well,
and I still foresee that being a problem if they go back to giving us not as many tokens, because they're like, you now only have 2 days less per ship, so you don't need as many tokens now. I still foresee that being a problem. So that's the one thing I can say about this. This will be okay as long as you don't lessen the amount of tokens that we end up getting.
I agree with that. And the other thing that isn't really addressed here with going from a 4-month cycle to a 3-month cycle is, are they bringing Garrison back in to keep it a year cycle? Or are we still having to weave in changes to our FM fleet along with building the skirmish fleet or the cycles going forward?
Well, and we don't know. And they said, exactly. I don't know whether you watched their stream yesterday.
I did. And they said they don't even know.
They said they don't know. They're going to see how the 3-month goes, and then they'll take it from there. So that is one positive thing, that they're actually allowing for flexibility to see whether things work out the way they want it to or not. But I do have concerns about going from a 4-month back to a 3-month, because it didn't work well before, and I'm not sure how well it's going to work this time. But if they lower the build times and don't reduce the amount of tokens that we get to assist those, it should be okay. Dan, Ross, you guys got anything to throw in here?
It is what it is. It's all in how they manage it. Yeah, with the tokens, with the releases, and the timing of whatever's needed, this right specials in the right orders. I just don't. So they're going to have 2 halls, all the specials, all the things, all correct in the 3-month cycle period. It's going to be hard, but I'm up for it. It doesn't matter to me as long as they, if they work it out the same or in the release of in the correct amount of time, so I can have everything, it's okay. I noticed that when the first haul is coming out, and then 3 weeks later, possibly the next haul, will be coming out in a TLC, so that if you make the wrong choice, you 3 weeks later or in your own opinion you made the wrong choice right off the bat and got the wrong haul, that you could get both 3 weeks later.
I know, like something I would love to give as an example of not the amount of tokens we want to see. The Primus or Dennis campaign that's going on this week, you get like 3 tokens in that thing, like 3 days worth of build tokens, if I'm not mistaken. That's not enough to support getting a fleet out in a timely manner. You need to have more build tokens in any TLCs that you do for these hulls. Dan, you got anything? Are you still there, Dan? Did you fall asleep?
I'm here.
All right.
Well, you can get 21 minimum of 21 days of tokens between raids in the FM, unless you happen to be
not this cycle.
Yeah, not this cycle.
Well, yeah, not this cycle. No, that's they said something about that in their stream, but we'll be getting 21 days worth of tokens between raids the next cycle to get the skirmish. And if they don't have a good TLC to help, they'll build those fleets between then. Unless you coin your butt off, people are only going to have maybe 2 ships ready.
I will say this too, and anybody who listened to me a year ago when I said this is probably going to be very thankful of it now, that there was that campaign a year ago where we got generic skirmish tokens, and I told everybody, hang on to these till next year because you're really going to appreciate them when the new skirmish hull comes out. I know I myself still have 8 of those things banked, so I know I'm going to be very grateful that I listened to myself and hung on to them.
Well, apparently you didn't want to build any other skirmish hulls.
Nope, I didn't need to. I had my fangs and my hunters built already.
Well, apparently you didn't refit them.
Nope.
I have 1 skirmish class build token.
So yeah, that's one thing everybody needs to go back and check in your tokens there to see if you have any of those generic skirmish tokens, because that'll be really help you get a hand up on this one.
I'm pretty sure I don't, because I wasn't pissing around with those skirmish freaking campaigns that were sucked. TLCs,
So let's move on to the next thing. It will feature 2 hulls and no CICs. I'm kind of okay with the no CICs part because seemed like they were definitely having a little bit of problems balancing them and getting them to work correctly the way they wanted to. I'm concerned that we're going back to the 2 hull part. I know, okay, right here it says two hull cycles are content overload because I'm forced to build both. In the past, we've done 2 hull cycles. We locked each hull out of certain targets in a way that essentially did force players to build both sets of hulls they wanted to be, if they wanted to be successful at the highest level. This time, targets do not prevent you from using either of the new hulls, and you can successfully beat all targets using either one of the hulls. In addition to the lack of hard lock outs, the element of choice is in your hands from the very beginning of the cycle. How? Well, as a prize, as a prize in the September event, you can choose which one of the hulls you'd like to redeem in order to start down the path of your preference. We don't pick for you, as happened in the past. The first hull decision is yours to make. If you'd like to also have the other hull later, it will be available in a campaign later that month. Okay, let's talk about this a little bit. One of my biggest concerns is, and I realize that we have an entirely new design team right now, but one of my biggest concerns is that the targets and the hulls from last raid, they didn't do a very good job of balancing it for both hulls in the last raid, in my opinion. So now that we have basically 4 options, I have a lot of concerns over this. If it was that difficult to balance it for 2 options, how much more difficult is it going to be to balance it for 4 options?
Well,
Correct.
when they say you have 2 options per hull, I don't believe that there's going to be 2 equally good options. There's going to be a right option and a wrong option. And we talked about a little bit earlier about being married to builds. If you happen to pick the wrong option, then you can just throw everything out and start over from scratch and be behind the entire thing. And the other part of this that I have a real problem with is what they're going to, if they really mean this, then there should be no set bonus completion in tier 8. You should if I choose to use ship A and target A is set up for ship A, I should get the same amount of points for hitting 2 of those that somebody who has
But
one.
whoa! You're going way off track here. That's not even what they said. They said whatever ship you choose can hit any of the targets.
No, but here's the problem. You can use you can use scatter cores to hit the missile target. You just suck at it. I want to know what they mean by to be successful at the highest level. Killing off a whole fleet with the repair times the way they are now to hit that other target just so you can get a completion bonus is not successful at the highest level.
But you're totally misconstruing what they're even saying. They're not saying, okay, there's going to be a missile target, but you can use your scatter ones to go in it. That's not even what they're saying. They're saying that all the hulls will be equally successful in all the targets.
And again, I'm going to go back to you're going to have to prove it to me because they've proven themselves entirely incapable of balancing targets.
Well,
the 108 and the 110s, the 108 favored one.
How can you say that when we're dealing with an entirely new team than what we had before?
Because they being Kixeye, not this. I'm not convinced that having a new team is going to make them more competent at balancing targets than the last 3 teams we had, who had experience at not balancing targets.
Well, I'm a firm believer, and we're just going to have to see how they're going to do it because it's a hard pill for me to swallow too. But I mean, the way it sounds, there's going to be a long range and short range of both ships. I'm kind of concerned in how you're going to pick one side and get both styles so you can pick which way you want to build it, skill or auto, of that one hull that you pick. How we're going to be able to get enough, because they usually just offer the hull, the weapon, and the special in that line. So, I mean, if it's 2 weapons to one pick from, for going long range or short range, I'm curious to see how they're going to do it. I mean, we'll find out when this next raid comes up because we're going to get to look at the equipment they're going to offer us. But it is a hard pill for me to swallow too, but we're going to have to be patient and see what comes out on this one.
The only thing that makes me a little bit optimistic, and Ross and Dan, I'll let you guys get a word in edgewise here in 1 second. The only thing that makes me a little bit optimistic is they know how much people don't believe them at this point in time. And that really puts the pressure on them to deliver. And that's the one thing that makes me somewhat optimistic about the whole thing. Dan, what do you got?
Well, yeah, I'm optimistic that in that same exact way. My reasoning is, why do you guys have 2 holes in the first place to do the same job? I mean, 1 hole, 1 weapon can do both auto and that, depending on how much damage you want. I mean, how hard is that? 1 hull, 1 weapon. No one has to change anything. The targets don't got to be changed, and it makes it easier for everybody that way. You're not worried about, did I pick the right hull? Did I pick the right weapon?
My guess would be product had a lot to do with that, because no matter what design comes up with and what greatness they might do, at the end of the day, it's really product who decide what goes in the game and what doesn't. And I don't have any inside information on that. I just have a feeling that might have been something that product had a hand in.
Well, back in the day when we played the raids, when we had, that we had one ship that does a target, and that's what we're happy with it. We did it, you know, and we all worked together. And we didn't have this choice of, well, do I take this hull or that hull? We're grabbing. We know what hull we're using because we already had it in our arsenal.
Ross, what do you got, bud?
I'm on this one here. You know, I haven't seen anything, so I can't say no. It's not. I mean, well, I'm just gonna have to kind of look and hold them to what they say. So if when the hulls come out and they are equally successfully beating the top tier targets, then I will be shocked and awed and happy and very happy, truly, because that will make a fun game. If you tune 2 hulls, couple weapons to the targets so they can both complete them successfully. That's what I've been wanting the whole time. Well, actually for 2 years. I'll be good with it. I'll be, you know, and then I'll be able to choose what I want. I'll be able to build the fleet I want. I'll be able to hit any target I want. Thumbs up. In all honesty, that's how I feel. Thumbs up. So pull it off, make me happy, and I will be happy. And I'm happy that you're kind of putting it out there, that you're saying you're going to do that. Make it so.
All right, Captain Picard, make it so. All right, let's go over the last question and answer they had. This is the one I personally had a real problem with. No more auto-only hulls, but the autoing is how I like to play. The more we look at hulls, the more we realize there never truly was a true separation between auto and skill hulls. Stop. I want to stop right there. Stop right there. I guess when we wrote this, we totally forgot all about Hell Race versus Tide Seekers and Ironclads versus Cannoneers, because those were the epitome of auto versus skill. You could go in and you could do targets with Cannoneers or Hell Race, and driven properly, you could take absolutely no damage doing those targets. That's why there was skill involved, because you had to walk that fine line. And if you messed up a little, that was really the only problem we had with that cycle, was that the slightest little mistake was so punitive in damage. You know, you make one little mistake and there goes like 3/4 of your fleet. Had they stuck with that pattern but made that damage not as punitive, like, oh, I screwed up, there went like, you know, 1/8 of my fleet, I think that would have been good. But like, you know, now like the Tide Seekers and the Ironclads, you could just go in, not look, they would go around, kill the targets. You knew they were going to take damage, but the amount of damage they took most of the time was acceptable. So I really had a problem with that line, saying there was never a difference between the auto and the skill holes.
Right.
You were going to say something.
I was going to add to that on the Ironclad, because they said that, you know, well, driving would change your effect on. No, you apparently didn't drive the Ironclad, and because no, it was all depending on how you built it. You couldn't drive yourself out of any kind of damage in situation with that beast. It didn't move fast enough or anything. You know what I mean? That it was built for autoing. It was definitely an auto hull. So.
Right. No, I will say, in the frame of reference that they were probably using, they probably, you know, being new to the game and everything, they probably only just went back and looked at like the last raid cycle or two, and like with Hydras and Bucks, it was very much they were kind of the same, because you could auto with either one of those, but if you drove them, you could potentially take less damage. So that might have been their frame of reference, but I think they needed to take a much bigger frame of reference when they made that statement. Because let's be honest, most people who are still with this game have been playing for years and years and years. And when we look back at the entire history of things and not just recent history.
Yeah, that's what they need to do, is look at the entire history of Battle Pirates and see what happened.
Well, and this auto thing is a concern for me, and not an immediate concern, but now I see that what we're having going on now is saying, oh, now there's not really a difference between auto and skill. And so that's going to be going away because that never really was the case. Well, that actually was the case. Some of us really play. That's how we've hung in there this long with the tedious chores that we dislike is that we auto and we go with the acceptable damage, or we build to have no damage if we can, if some targets are possible to instant repair, meaning not no damage. Well, anyway, but so this auto feature is going to mean a lot to me. That's how I play half my game, or 3/4 of my game at least.
One of the things that does concern me a little bit about like narrowing that gap between the skill and the auto hull, though, is it's making it much more, in my opinion anyway, it's driving it more towards like a mobile game basically. And that just makes me like, okay, like 2 years from now, if I want to play Battle Pirates, does that mean I'm going to have to be jumping on my phone and using my auto hull? But I mean, that's a long-term concern.
Well, and if we're going to build targets for auto play, then let's get rid of some of the crap that's in there. That is the only thing I can figure out that it's the reason it's there is to discourage auto play, like the pools of goo and
Yeah.
and the mines and the cheese balls, all of the stuff that's there that if you're driving you can avoid, but if you're autoing, you're at the mercy of the AI. You really want to say, okay, you can auto with any fleet, then quit building things into the targets that specifically discourage auto play.
Well, and it's not even only the mechanics that are in the target, but sometimes there's just weird stuff that happens in these targets. Like during the Buccaneers, that is a great example, that sometimes you could go in and auto a target and come out with like, 10, 15 minutes damage. And other times you would go in, try to auto the same target, and next thing you know, your fleet is sailing back to your base dead. Because it just got like it got hit by the projectile from hell from nowhere, So that if they want to go forward with this particular kind of design, they really need to be aware of that stuff and really need to be on top of that stuff very quickly.
Well, there's a flaw in the 111s right now. I do my FM. I have 3 fleets of icebreakers built specifically to auto in 111s. And maybe 1 out of every 15 or 1 out of every 20 targets I hit, instead of taking the plus or minus 30 minutes damage I'm accustomed to, I get like 4 hours. And you never know which one it is. So you're not even, if you're running 3 fleets at once, you're not even looking. I have no idea what it is. I just know it's there.
But continuing on with this statement, it says these new hulls are classified as both. You can run the ships on auto, assuming they're leveled up and you have the right build, and win as an auto user if that's your preference. You can also microcontrol them to decrease repairs incurred in play as a skill hull if that's your preference, your choice. So, I mean, if they're able to successfully implement that, great. It kind of almost seems that it's kind of almost like what we're doing with the Manicores currently. It's like, if you have scattered, you can go in, you can auto the target, but you're going to take a fair amount of damage. But if you go in and microcontrol them, such as like putting one ship out front to absorb all the splash and leaving the others trailing behind, you're still going to take damage and a fair amount of it, but it's going to be less than if you would just have it go on auto. So it seems like they're kind of going sort of that direction. And I'm fine with that as long as they keep the damage reasonable, not like it is in the current raid format.
Do they know what reasonable is, though? That's the problem.
That's a really good question. Because to auto a tier 8 set in the last raid took me about 7 hours damage.
Yeah.
And that's not a reasonable amount of damage. And I was taking a lot more in the 108 than I was in the 110. And if they think that's a reasonable amount of damage, then they need to re-examine the amount of points they're asking us to chase after.
Well, I don't know, because I was autoing sets for probably like 4 hours of damage. So
is that really reasonable?
More reasonable than 7 hours of damage.
Well, yeah, obviously it's more reasonable than 7, but
I mean, again, we're not going to know any of this stuff until we actually see what happens. And we're not here to bitch about what's currently going on. We're here to talk about the skirmish stuff and what they have proposed.
Well, we need to bring up things like the repair times for the exact reason of perhaps they think that 7 hours a set is a reasonable amount of repair time, and somebody needs to tell the Emperor he has no clothes.
But quite honestly, going on about repair times is, in my opinion, a waste of breath and time at this point. We've been harping on that for 6 years. We've gotten nowhere. At some point in time, you need to just be like, enough is enough. I'm not going to get anywhere. Move on.
Let's see, that's where you're giving up. You're giving up a battle for. I mean, you're giving up the war for a battle.
Well, we just said that they're new at this. Maybe they'll listen.
We'll see.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't know. Anybody have anything else they want to put on the skirmish thing?
Just a reminder that the last 2 skirmish cycles the first raids have been disasters, and that they should look back at what went wrong in those and hopefully avoid it this time. Remember, 2 years ago was the one where everybody just didn't play, and then last year was not much better.
We don't have any kind of leaked information on the forums or anything. Is this a sub or a ship? We don't know.
We don't know.
I'm wondering if one of them is going to be a surface ship and one of them is going to be a sub, since there's going to be 2 different variations for 2 hulls. Because that's one thing that we have always kind of asked, specifically in the skirmish cycle, that like we've actually always have asked them for 2 hulls, honestly, because generally it's a skirmish thing, but there's a lot of people that don't, generally it's a sub since it's skirmish, but there's a lot of people who don't like driving subs. So we have actually specifically usually asked them for 2 different hulls during this raid cycle.
Right. And that was kind of what I was going to lead into a little. That's because that's me. I hate them. I have them, but I hate them.
There's some people that love subs, like Shane loves driving subs. Me, I can't stand driving subs. Fangs weren't so bad because you didn't have to watch their surface timer.
Right.
You know?
They're not really.
To be honest, that's one of the things I didn't like about the Fang.
And the truth be told, Fangs were not subs in the raid targets. They really didn't act like subs in the raid. Now, in going out on other map targets and against other players' fleets, they were subs. But when you looked at the way that they worked inside of the raid targets themselves, they didn't act like subs because they never surfaced and they were never, it wasn't a matter of getting caught on the surface. It was a matter of whether or not you got detected from a range.
Well, to me, they never felt like a sub because they could see you all the way out there.
Yeah.
Was what I had an issue with. It's that made me feel like it wasn't really a sub. And I've always accepted that the surfacing was part of the skill of driving the sub myself, So, but I like the Fangs, but I never really agreed that it was a true sub myself.
See, my big problem with subs is I'm a terrible multitasker. I'll freely admit that. So I get so wrapped up in hitting the target and trying to drive that razor thin line. And then I'm like, oh shit, my sub's just surfaced. I'm dead. That's my problem I have with subs. And I'm not too proud to admit that. I am terrible.
Well, and that was a problem with skirmish cycle, and we talked about that already. With skirmish cycle targets in general, is one tiny several pixel or several second mistake killed your entire fleet. The penalization for making a simple error was so high.
Yeah, and that's why I said when it comes back to I kind of actually like that cycle if they just would have made the error for margin not so punitive, and I would have been much more fine with just keeping it that way at that point in time. But yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting, to see what happens. I do have some concerns, and I think they're rightly justified concerns. I understand that we have a new design team, but as I said earlier, a lot of this ends up being out of the design team's hands and goes straight to product, and product decides a lot of times kind of what we see and what we don't. So and I'm not sure if product is new team as well. If they're both new teams, we'll see some improvements. But if it's the same product team and they stick to their same ways, I want to be optimistic, but I'm finding it a little bit difficult. So I think that sums that up. Let's talk about upcoming bounty. So we just got done like the biggest grind fest of a raid ever. It felt like we have a pretty grindy FM this week for people who want to get all the turrets and stuff up. And now we got bounty along with another FM coming up next raid. And then we got the raid directly the week after that. So what are you guys feeling about the limits that Kick is currently pushing us to engage and our amount of engage time to stay current and relevant in the game?
This would be a perfect time to join me in skipping bounty.
It's definitely going to be a drag. I mean, Jesus, so much going on so quick. Fatigue will set in, I think, for a lot of people.
For bounty?
For bounty and then the raid and then dealing with these long grinds for the FM. I mean, just one right after the other is going to be taxing on me. I mean,
Am I going to have armor, and am I going to be able to hit below 80 map targets?
Well, we're getting to that point. We're not there yet. So just hang on. We'll talk about that after we talk about just the sheer amount of ass time that it's going to take to stay relevant and all this stuff. I mean, I know the last raid I spent probably the most seat time on a raid that I have spent in a long, long time. Now, for me, the FM this week hasn't been that bad because, I was just like, I don't give a crap about the turrets that are in there. I truly don't. So I didn't have to grind out, all those extra millions of points in the FM. But I know there's a lot of people who are having to spend all that time grinding the FM. And now we're going to have a grinding bounty coming up next week, along with grinding FM, probably, because I'm sure they'll do another this week only type of thing. And then right after that, pretty much like 3 days after bounty is over, it's raid time again. I'm just shoo-wee, man. This is becoming a job, not a game. This is becoming a freaking job.
Becoming?
Yeah, becoming.
You just now noticed?
Because I've never had to put in this much effort before. Honestly, I never have. So I don't know. Is anybody else concerned about you're going to get kind of sick of playing the game because they're requiring so much time right now?
Yeah, I mean, that's where I have an issue. If I start doing it too much, I get too used to it or too burned out on it, and it puts me out. I mean, I'll turn the game on. It starts making me sleepy, so I'll turn it off. I mean, it's getting to be, it has been too much. And them squishing everything together like this is not helping their cause any. To keep players interested,
I don't know. Dan, Ross, what do you guys think about the time requirements of the game right now and coming up?
They're making it hard being an alliance leader. I'm not saying that I personally, I do keep up with the game myself because I feel like coin heavily. I don't think that I'm a retired guy that fishes all day. There's no way that the community is in the same shape that I am with the gameplay style. People should have lives and go to work and normal things, and there's too many hours required. That's why I have turned to the auto, the feature. It's not because I enjoy that. I don't enjoy clicking hit the target on my telephone. You got to be kidding. That's not fun, right? I'm doing that to stay up in the game until it can be fun. But I mean, so I don't want them to mistake that as, oh, that's happening, and so we got to keep that going. Well, I'm doing that, yes, but I'm doing that just to stay up current because there's so much in the game. I'm not. I don't want to spend that many hours in front of a computer screen, so I'm on the road with the phone, and that's how I look at it. Too much.
Dan?
I used to spend hours a day on here. I'd have 5-6 hours a day for sure, being in front of the computer playing. Doing everything, keeping up. Now I just do just what is necessary right now. I mean, I got TLC to do now. My FM's done. I'm just doing what's needed just to keep up. I mean, I won't fall behind. I do everything to stay up above, stay at my skill level and play level that I play at all the time. And it's just
is your lack of engagement now due to, you think, being burnt out from the raid?
It might it burn out from everything. I mean, right now it's hard to hit bases too, and that's something I like to do a lot of, and I hate doing FM, but it's something I got to do. So I get on and I do that. It's just I got to get. I hate getting. I need to still go out and get base parts and all that, but I just can't be. I just don't want to do it anymore.
I mean, my big thing is, and let's be honest, we all have a love-hate relationship with this game. We do. There's no two ways about that. But my big concern is there's a fine line between me having that love-hate relationship and you literally forcing me to engage with the game so much to be relevant in it that I just get to the point where I just don't care anymore. And I become, what's the word I'm looking for? Apathetic. And I'm just like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't care if I get this prize. I don't care if I get that prize because you pushed me so far that I'm just like, I just don't care anymore.
Well, and remember, the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is apathy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's exactly what you're describing.
And that's my concern. That's actually a really big concern, that like they're gonna force me to engage with the game so much that I'm just gonna be like, you know what? I'm done. I don't care anymore. And I know they like to say, well, bounty is optional. Well, not if you're somebody who likes to be at the top of the game. It's not optional. It's not.
Well, speaking as somebody who made bounty optional, if you want to play PvP at all, period, bounty is not optional. One of the side effects of me saying I'm not going to participate is that I have completely and utterly given up that portion of the game. I keep hearing, well, this is optional. Well, that's optional. Well, this is optional. Well, that's optional. Well, anything that you say is optional is only optional if you want to completely and utterly give up that portion of the game. I don't have to do the FM either. I can just blow that off too. But that's the end of it. Then there's nothing left.
Right. That's true.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. Hopefully, I know we're in a real weird, what they call it, a transitional period. And like somebody in their stream brought up that day, why does it seem like we're always in a transitional period? but I mean, I don't know. You push the last raid back a week. Why can't you do the same with this one coming up? But whatever. But yeah, let's talk about
because they got a calendar they want to hit, and the players be damned. Players first or last.
I mean, we've heard. I mean, what they're telling us, we've heard all before. in a big, big statements before and all this here. Now it's new guys again saying the same, saying they understand where we're all coming from, and they're trying to fix it the best way they know how. So it's like we're back, and we're gonna sit back and we're gonna wait again to either be happy or disappointed again. And that's and I think a lot of us are really getting sick of that, waiting and seeing if we're gonna like it or not, and then being disappointed or not. It's a fine, very fine line they're running right now.
Yeah, it's to coin a phrase that my dad always used to say, it's time to shit or get off the pot, you know. But anyway, let's talk about bounty coming up real quick and see. let's hear some thoughts on that, dude. Unless we get some armor to combat these new turrets, I don't foresee it being good.
No, it's gonna be another raid trying to hit the targets they put out there. If they put base targets out there again with our bases that are in there, then we're not going to be able to hit those either.
Well, I mean, yes and no. There's going to be I'm sure there will still be a lot that don't have the new turrets in them as far as the map targets. I'm still waiting to hear some kind of answer as to whether the level hitting cap is going to apply to the map targets or not. Still haven't heard word one about that.
Yeah, they haven't decided. They haven't decided that yet.
Yeah, I've asked several times and gotten no response.
Yeah, they haven't. Yeah, unless they don't list them as level targets, they'll just list them as player target. You know.
Well, I mean, but they almost have to put a level in so you know what you're going up against.
Right. Well, they could say elite or non-elite. You know. They can go that route to get rid of the level lock. You know what I mean?
but they kind of can't even do it that way because there's a big difference between a level 81 that I would be able to hit and a level 129 that I would also be able to hit. You know what I mean?
Right. And I want to know even which ones have portals or not.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people during the last several bounties have just taken to a lot of like the sub 80 targets. They were just autoing with fleets because they could do it that way. You know, it still involved a lot of ass time sitting in your chair, clicking auto on it. But it was a way that they could even come close to getting the amount of points that they needed to redeem the prizes. And if they take away the ability of people to auto those targets, people aren't going to be happy. But yeah, I'm really concerned that we have not seen new armors for against these new turrets yet. I'm really concerned about that.
I am too myself.
Because I mean, to me, it would almost seem like, okay, well, you've just pretty much said at this point the only people who can go out and participate in bounty are people who got witch doctors and coined them up, and that's the only people you want to participate in this bounty.
And even the witch doctors aren't doing that well.
No.
Well, you know, there's actually a lot of debate about that because I've seen, well, I haven't seen, but I've heard and seen screenshots anyway of some boats that do particularly well against corrosive stuff. But then I've also seen lots of witch doctors that do terrible against corrosive stuff. So it makes me wonder if there's a little something weird going on out there or what that's all about.
Well, it might be how many corrosive turrets a person has in their base too.
No, that hasn't had any effect on what I've been seeing at all.
Okay. All right. That's what I was just wondering, you know, some people could be maxed out at the 100% or 200%, you know, mark. And
well, Ross, you can probably speak to this even better than I can if you want to take over for a bit.
Oh yeah, I'm maxed to the 200 mark, and I can clearly say, but I don't. What I can say is I can't confirm everybody's build, so I don't. But I can tell you, some I can melt, and some could just sit and just sit there and under fire and sit under full fire. So they're pretty amazing. Some are not.
And let's be honest, like any fleet that we have right now, other than the Witch Doctor, the Efreet actually might do okay because doesn't it? Its throwers give it corrosive deflection.
Right.
I've seen the Ifrits do pretty well against them.
As far as,
but as far as like impact cruisers, missile storm cruisers, onslaughts,
no,
they're going to be absolute toast in this upcoming bounty unless we get armors. And at this point, it's almost, in my opinion anyway, almost too late to do anything about armors, because then if you put them in the next FM, then you're just requiring that I either have to use my tokens that I would prefer to save for the raid or coin. And like if I want to get a full fleet, I'm going to have to use my tokens and coin. Yeah. So in my personal opinion, it's almost kind of too late to do anything about it. Unless you know, because if you put them in the next FM, well, then everybody's just going to be like, well, that's just a blatant coin grab, and in my opinion, rightfully so.
Well, it will. Yes, I mean, it'll be clear.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't see how anybody could even really argue with that statement because, you know, if you come out with something that's the answer the day before the thing, it's obviously a blatant coin grab.
That is, yeah, can't argue. So I'm hoping they try something new with the bounty or something to overcome this. I just don't know. I know it's probably too late for them to even try something new, but you know, maybe they're looking at it something different, and we don't know yet.
I just hope nothing make or break is in the bounty, because I don't see that a lot of the general player base will be able to compete in bounty the way the game is going right now, unless there's, you know, if bounty continues with last bounty repeats, they just won't. The majority of the player base will not be able to compete effectively, in my opinion, and score nearly the points that they have been in the past. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, we already know there's going to be a new hole in there.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a new defender hole, if I remember correctly.
I don't know. Was the defender going in there? Was the next? It was going to be the next. I
was pretty sure it was defender and bounty, and then the last base hitter was going to be in the next raid. I was pretty sure.
Okay, that'd be good, because that'd be good.
Yeah, trying to find a good defender. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
There's definitely a lot of questions and a lot of concerns about the upcoming bounty for sure. And while I appreciate all the efforts that they're making to improve their communication, and they have done a really good job at that, I wish they would improve their communication on these questions, because these are the things that we really want to know, and these are the things that we really want answered. And we need definitive answers for those, not vague. Well, we had a meeting, you know. It's like
yeah, it's going to be quite. And this is what's really going to hurt us. You know, we're going to have a bounty, and then we're going to have a raid right away, and we just had one. Yeah, this is what's really going to burn a lot of people out real quick this time. It's like, anybody going to want to play the bounty now after we just had a raid? A week off, now a bounty, and then a raid again. It's gonna hurt the community this way, I think.
Yeah, I know. I've spoken to a lot of people who have said, you know, with the amount of time that all this upcoming stuff is going to take, they're going to be pushed about as far as they want to push, and some are like, you know, I'm getting to the point where I don't care anymore.
Yeah, that's how that's what I'm afraid, that this bounty really could be bad just because no one's going to really want to do it because they're burnt out from the raid already, having to grind out gazillion points. Okay, then we got this here, got the FM that we had to do, and we're trying to get ships built that we had, and ranking weekend, was going to be starting tomorrow.
Yeah, I forgot to throw that in there.
Yeah, can't forget about we have ranking weekend starting tomorrow. That everybody's going to be out ranking their ships that they haven't got ranked yet.
Oh, yeah, this is real quick. What are you guys going to be ranking? I know I'm going to be ranking a Witch Doctor, an Impact Cruiser. Although why I'm ranking the Impact Cruiser, I'm not sure because it has no practical use at the moment. But and I need to finish ranking my Greta's Inferno dragons, and I'll probably take my Proto Sense out and kill them off once.
I won't be ranking nothing. I might throw one of my Witch Doctors in because I got 2 Witch Doctors in for final builds going on them. I'll use tokens to rank those up.
I don't have a single thing to. I don't have anything to rank at all. So.
Okay. Well, I do got my Curator. Well, I don't even have to rank that. I got tokens for that too.
You're not gonna be ranking any Witch Doctors, Ross?
Oh, there's tokens for that.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
you're one of those guys who actually remembers to make them. I always remember.
In all honesty, I'm like at 99.
Well, you know what I would really like to see for people like me who either totally forget to do them all the time or couldn't be asked to go out and gather up the titanium to do them. I'd like to see them alternate back and forth on VXP weekends. Like 1 month pay out Defender tokens, the next month pay out Conqueror tokens.
That'd be nice.
I'd love to see something like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that's some nice. I know they've become fond of the term of low hanging fruit. That's some nice low hanging fruit that would make lots of people happy.
Oh yeah. I'd be out there if they had Conqueror tokens in those in there. I'd be out there. I'd be hitting them just to be hitting them.
Right, just to save that stuff up.
Exactly.
Taking damage, generating income.
It'd be something that I want.
Yep.
So I'd be willing to spend a little on it.
Cool. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up there. I'm going to put a link for the hangout in the chat if anybody wants to jump on for an after show or whatever. But we're going to call it there. Thanks, guys, for stepping out and taking time out of your day to join us. We always appreciate it. As always, give us a like, a subscribe, tell your friends about us, add them to the page. We appreciate it. And we will talk to you Saturday where we will do our open mic / roundtable / talk whatever you want to talk about. Until then. Take it easy.
Later.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.